All right, so we're going to go ahead and do our SQ3R for medication administration. I'm going to go ahead right off the bat and just set up my notebook. So I have SQ3R, medication administration. I'm going to do my left column. And then I'm going to go ahead and first I'm going to survey. So I'm going to look through from page 223. I'm going to start to survey my bolded words. So I have administering medications, topical administration, oral administration. I have a figure down at the bottom. So this says a pill gun is useful for administering medication to the difficult patient. All right. Then I flip to my next page. I've got rectal administration. Again, another figure. So liquid administration is right there. Oral administration. And then also a figure. Procedure 8.2, giving an enema. Page 225, I have nasal administration, ophthalmic application. And then no bolded words, but I do have some more pictures. So I have intranasal administration of medication or vaccines. Note that the head is elevated to allow flow of medication into the nasal passage. And then I have installation of ophthalmic drops to the eye. Note that the container does not touch the eye. All right. Go to page 226 where I have otic application. I've got parenteral administration. Intraosseous is one of my bolded words. I have a critical concept box. I have another figure. Ear lavage with bulb syringe. Ensure that the syringe is directed ventromedially into the canal. A basin should be ready below the ear to catch irrigant solution. Okay. And then I have another figure. Comparison of angle of injection and location of medication deposit for IM, SC, and ID injections. Then over to page 227, I have intradermal administration, subcutaneous administration. I've got my pictures. So figure 825, administration of SC fluids. Hang a fluid bag above the patient and use large gauge needle for faster administration. And then I have another image to give a single subcu injection. Grasp the skin between the thumb and forefinger along the dorsal aspect of the neck or back and lift gently to form a tent. And I go to page 228. I've got intramuscular administration, no bold words, intravenous administration, the procedure for intravenous injection, intraosseous and intraperitoneal administration, and intravenous catheterization. So I'm actually going to stop at intravenous catheterization, so I'm not going to include that in my SQ3R unless I want to, and by all means you guys can. Intravenous catheterization is a good port for us to be able to have an opening in that vein for medications as we need it. Okay, so that was my survey. My survey is now complete. I'm going to start back at the beginning where I'm going to create my questions. All right. Now, I do have this really cool Bloom's question starters for higher order thinking. So if I get stuck, I can come back to this and I can look to see what are my question stems that I might be able to utilize here. All right. So administering medications. That is my first bold word. So I'm going to go ahead. You know what? I wonder, what are all the different ways that I can administer medication? All right. So number one, what ways can I give medication? All right. That's my first question. All right, and then second question is going to be related to topical administration. So I want to know, what is topical administration? Okay. What are the steps? So what is it? Or how do I do it? To apply topical medication. Number 4, I want to know, are there any precautions or any things to look for? Or maybe what are going to be some of the difficulties, right? So are there precautions or difficulties related to topical admin? Okay. All right. There's also a bolded word up at the top called analgesia. So I can ask, what is analgesia? Okay. All right, and then I'm at oral administration. I skipped this procedure, cleaning dog ears, because we talked about that in the previous reading. Okay, so oral administration. Well, I don't know what it is. So maybe what type or what kind of medications do I give orally? Or what is it? Okay. 7, what are the steps or how do I give medication orally? Okay, so what are the steps? How do you? And then I can go ahead and I can use that same question from above, right? Because these are all similar categories, I can reuse that question. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to go 8, and I'm going to ask, what are the precautions? Or maybe what difficulties, or even proper restraining techniques, okay? So what precautions or difficulties? Related to oral meds. Okay. All right, so there's that. I'm going to flip to the next page. Now we've got rectal administration. Okay, so now I have rectal administration. Woo. All right, so go for it. What are the steps? To apply medication rectally. What concerns? What concerns do you need to take into consideration? Why do you give medication rectally? Right? Like, that's definitely not probably your most desired. So why is medication given rectally? Okay. All right, so there's rectal. There's also that table on enemas. Okay. So I want to know, how do you give an enema and what is the purpose? So what's the purpose of an enema? All right. Going on to the next page. I've got nasal administration. Okay, so can I use the same absolute questions? 100% I can. So what are the steps? Or how do you give nasal medication? Okay. What complications or what precautions might there be? What are the tips and tricks? Any of those types of questions would be great. So what are the steps? How do you give it? Concerns, precautions. Maybe what are some pointers? Okay. Anything else? Let's see, there's no bold words. I think I'm good for that. So then we have ophthalmic medication or ophthalmic application. All right, so let me see. I don't know. How do I do it? All right. Okay, so ophthalmic application, how, and what is even ophthalmic? I have no idea. Let me ask that first. What is ophthalmic? And then how do I give medications? Okay, so how do I apply ophthalmic medication? And then what precautions or concerns might I have? Okay, so that is my ophthalmic meds. All right, so boom, boom, we're all good there. Okay, now I have otic application. Okay, so otic application. I want to know, how do I do it? So what are the steps to apply otic medication? I can ask, what are otic medications? Or what does otic mean? I can ask, what are proper restraints? Okay. Right, and then I'm getting this question based off of, here's been a lot of different pictures of people restraining animals while medications are being given. Okay. All right, so that's that top piece. If I were gonna like break this off into sections, that's my section. So I would kind of stop here for a little bit and then let me come back to it because now I have this parenteral administration. So take a breather. Now I'm coming back. So now I've got parenteral medication. So what does parenteral mean? Okay. What are the different types of parenteral medication? Maybe proper restraining techniques or tips, tricks, concerns. So concerns when giving medication using the parenteral route. All right, so now we're going to go into that. We have a bold word, intraosseous. No idea what that means, so let me go ahead. Definition of intraosseous. Okay. Now I have intradermal medication administration. So what is intradermal? What is intradermal medication? Or what are intradermal medications? Like what are examples of? So what is, let me go ahead, what is an example of intradermal medication? 29, how do you, or when is ID used? Are there precautions? When administering. And I don't want to have just a yes, no, right? I want to know what are. So what are the precautions when administering? Okay, so now that's going to bring me to subcutaneous administration. So some of you asked how many questions. So far I'm doing like 3 questions per thing because I can repeat the things I want to know because they're applicable to all of these different types of medication administration routes. All right, so subcutaneous administration. When do you give medication? Subcutaneously. What is meant by subcutaneous, right? So what is it? What concerns do I have? What precautions do I take when I administer? Okay. All right, so that's my subcutaneous piece. Next page is intramuscular administration. All right. So again, when do I give it? What is it? What precautions? What are the steps? intramuscularly. Okay. When should I use it? When should I not do it? What is it? So what are the steps? Yeah, so what is it? What is intramuscular? How do I do it safely? Okay. Next we have intravenous administration. Okay, so we have intravenous administration. So I have no idea what that means. So what is intravenous? What types of medications or when do I give it? Oh, and look at, here's even a box. So what's the procedure in giving an intravenous injection? Maybe I can even say what's the most important step. So what type of medications are given? What's the procedure of giving an intravenous injection? Maybe I can say what's the most important step? What difficulties might there be? When should I not? Okay, all those would work. And then we have intraosseous and intraperitoneal. Okay, so what is intraosseous and what is intraperitoneal? And then when are they used? Okay. And as I said, we're going to stop at intravenous catheterization. So then we are done creating our questions. Now I'm going to go back to the beginning and I'm going to read and start answering my questions.